Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for checking in and seeing another episode, 115th episode. It's crazy to think we've gone that far, but here we are. So got the C10 64 C10 truck wrapped up today. So we got some stuff on there. I went down and worked on a Eleanor copy car that had a 427 supercharger in it. Unfortunately, the car is scale or set up for sale, so I couldn't get any pictures of the car because they didn't want it being leaked that it had to be worked on. But I got that thing straightened out pretty good and it's running. Show you guys some stuff on that. Starting to put the AC components in on the GMC Sprint, trying to do the VIR elimination kit. So that'll kind of tie in with some of the AC stuff we talked about probably about 2 months ago. And I got the rotating assembly back from MPR Racing Engines, so I can put Scott's Buick together. So that'll be another thing that we're going to be doing here shortly. Excuse me. A little disheveled today, trying to get everything finished up and put together and stuff like that. So I am going to do a full video on the Terminator X Stealth build on the C10. So that'll be coming up, and I got to work on sometime in the near future here getting some of these videos done. I've got so many that need to be done, and I haven't really had a chance to edit any of them, so I need to get on that. And again, things keep happening. So this coming weekend, Friday afternoon, Scott and I are driving up to Lakeland, Florida for the Mirror Lake concourse show and car show. So we're going to take two of his cars up there. So I'll have some pictures of that show next week. And then the following weekend, I'll be going up with Mike and Chris from Ravenwood's Paint and Body. And we're going to be going up to Orlando Drag Riot. So that's an event that we've been to many a time. So it'll be another weekend out of the shop. So and hopefully I get enough time to put together a video for that event also. So a lot of things going on, and of course, besides getting the Sprint done and getting back on Scott's Skylark, we got to get the NASCAR ready for Turkey Rod Run. We'll be displaying the car in the vintage racing section, so we'll be in the garage area, the closest to turn 4 on the front stretch. And there's a group of people that come on with all these vintage and tribute stock cars and drag cars and stuff like that from yesterday era. So I got in on that deal, so we'll have the car there. So I need to get that finished up, and then of course putting it for sale. Hey Bill, how you doing? So yeah, so hey Bill, I was talking to Mike and Chris at Ravenwood Paint and Body, and we're going to go up to Orlando Friday the 24th and the 25th for Drag Riot. So I don't know if you would be interested in going up there, doing some test and tune. But yeah, so that's kind of what the schedule is going to be for me for the next 2 weeks. Hey John, how you doing? And then sometime between now and Thanksgiving, we have to get or at least December 1st, we have to get the Buick T-Type finished up. And I have to figure out some time to get over to Arcadia and get Leo's car on a hub dyno, get that all sorted out so we can get that thing to the track. Time's ticking. Leo, or none, any of us for that matter, are spring chickens anymore, so we need to get that car wrapped up and get some hits on at the drag strip and get that 7-second time slip under our belt so that we have something to work on. That will cement us in as the fastest 4200 door car, and at least we'll have something to build on off of that if time permitted. But we definitely want to get that locked in. So the car's all set to go. In fact, I sent Leo the new turbo flange because the downpipe from the turbo is just rotted out. Unfortunately, it wasn't made out of stainless, and over the years it's just rusted, and now it doesn't even really seal good. Last time I put the car together, I used Permatex Ultra Copper to try to get at least as much of a seal as I can so that the wideband would be as true of a reading as possible. But when we took it back apart, you could see it was still leaking exhaust, which means air was entering. So we definitely have to get that straightened out. But that's the goal for that thing. Get with Chris at Blow By Racing and get on his hub dyno, and of course he's got a welder there, so I can get the exhaust pipe finished up, TIG that together, and we can get on the hub dyno, make some pulls, and get that sorted. I want to get the boost builder tables all set up and everything, stuff that we couldn't really do at the drag strip. So that's going to be the best bet, is to go over there, get on the hub dyno, and get everything sorted. And that way, when we do go to the track, we can actually make hits and do some down track tuning, and rather than trying to just go through getting boost sorted and all those other things that we've been chasing. So verify that our oiling system is working right, so we don't stick the exhaust valves anymore, and all those things. So those are all things we got to work on that. Hey Rick, how you doing? So that's that. Like I said, on the Cup car, I got to finish the radiator shroud is done. I just have to mount the fans and then go ahead and put it in the car. And I have to do the fuel pump and install the new fire system. And I found a vintage, but brand new in the box VDO water temp gauge for the car, because the water temp gauge wasn't working before. And the thing that makes me happy about that is those have a 10-foot lead, and they're really fine wire stainless braided, real thin capillary tube. So I was able to find the exact one that was in the car before, so that's all staying period correct. So that should be good. We're getting really close to wrapping that up. I've got the tubing to make the new boom tubes. If I can get that done before Daytona, I will. That's not a necessity, because the boom pipes that are on there now are fine. They just have some pretty big rust holes in them. But the rest of the exhaust, except for the tube, is all fresh. So just build the fresh side of the boom tube, and we'll be dialed in there. And again, like I said, that'll be at the Daytona Rod Run, which is Thanksgiving weekend. I'm not sure what cars we're taking to Mirror Lake this coming weekend when Scott and I go over there. It's in Lakeland, Florida. I believe we'll probably be taking the Vega and the Le Mans. I got to get a video done on the Vega because he wants to sell the engine and possibly the 5-speed transmission that's in that car. And we're going to update it after Turkey Rod Run with a LS3, and either with the TKO 600 training that's in there now, or maybe go ahead and put a TKX in it because it'll just fit a little better. But that's what we have left to do on that car. And of course, that'll be after Thanksgiving. Trying to think what else is upcoming. That's pretty much it. The big thing is getting the Buick T-Type done. Of course, I'm going to get Scott's, once I get the Sprint out of here beginning of next week, I'll get the Buick in so we can put the engine in there. Like I said, I've got the rotating assembly back. And not only was the flex plate a disaster area that used to be on it, but the crankshaft was never balanced properly to start with. So now that we have that all done, that's going to be really make that car a pleasure to drive when it's real smooth sailing and all that stuff, and probably should help it make some more make it run better too. Hey Chris, how you doing? So yeah, so that's the big things that we got coming down the pike. I don't know if Ryan has made it on yet tonight, but he's been sending me videos on the C10 that he's putting together for SEMA, and man, that thing is looking freaking awesome. I can't wait till SEMA so we can put all the pictures and videos up on here on the chat that he's done. I mean, the work is just unbelievable, top notch, you know, as good as any top hot rod builder that I've ever seen as far as the paint quality and the fitment and everything he's done. It's probably going to be the best square body C10 for the way the body is fitted and everything that anybody's ever seen. So can't wait till we can show some more videos of that thing. That thing is just incredible. But he's trying to get that done for SEMA, so I don't know if he'll be in tonight or not. I mean, I understand he's thrashing to get that thing done. The clock's ticking, you know. So one of the things I did was I got a call from a car sales, a classic car guy in Pompano. And he had an Eleanor that was a project that kind of got put away. Somebody spent way more money than they should have and never really finished the car. So this guy has purchased the car, and now he's just fine-tuning it, getting it ready to put up for sale, since that's what he does. He sells cars. And I brought copies of the tune that was in it and the tune that I finished up with, so we'll go over that. Of course, I got some Terminator X stuff that, you know, I'm going to make a video on the 64C10 Stealth installation, so that's going to be a start to finish. So I can show you guys some of the software and tuning. Hopefully you guys aren't getting too tired of the Holly stuff, but right now that's what I've been doing the most of, so that's what we have to talk about. But first we'll go into the air conditioning stuff on the Sprint. Now, I haven't actually had a chance to install any of it because I just started it this afternoon, but at least I can show you some pictures of the VIR system and stuff like that. So let me pull that stuff up. Let's see here. Should be here. Okay. All right, so let me show you guys a couple of these little snippets. These are stuff that's going to be put into the air conditioning video when we get done. Working on the 76 GMC Sprint, and there is the antiquated VIR system, valve in receiver dryer, that GM used to use in the mid-70s. And we're going to go ahead and convert it, since it's got a new Holley front drive setup on the LS engine swap. So that compressor is really efficient, and we have a new condenser in it. So we're going to go ahead and swap this stuff out. Let me show you what we're going to use. So that's the this is the VIR. Back in the air conditioning days, we were talking about air conditioning section we did about 2 months ago. So there is an expansion valve in here. You got a sight glass, and you got a receiver dryer in here. So, like we talked about when we were doing the tech tips on the air conditioning, the receiver dryer has a desiccant bag that absorbs moisture in the system. You don't want any water and condensation in the system, because obviously the evaporator sweats, so it sweats on the externally, also sweats on the inside. So these were really bad because they had a POA positive valve in there, the expansion valve, the receiver dryer. Everything was reduced in size to make it fit in this tight package. and it worked, but they weren't as efficient as the earlier POA systems or the newer accumulator systems. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and convert that to. Let me go ahead and pull the next slide up.
So we have this VIR.
So start this over again. So here's the conversion kit. I get all my AC parts from Old Air, classic Old Air products. So here's that. So we have this VIR eliminator kit. It's going to convert it to orifice tube with a regular receiver dryer accumulator. And we got hose kit right there. We got AC fittings to hook up to everything. And we have some miscellaneous stuff to convert the late model lines to our VIR eliminator kit. Let me go ahead and get this unbagged and show you what's in it. So yeah, so that's the stuff that came in. So the all the new AC systems or newer AC systems all use number 6, number 8, and number 10, where the old systems used a number 12 for the suction hose. So I had to get when you get the AC hose kit, they don't supply number 12 stuff because none of the new aftermarket AC systems have the number 12 parts in them, so they don't use them. So I had to get a conversion fitting 12 into the accumulator and to a 10 hose, and then also all the stuff that comes in the hose kit is all female O-ring, and to screw into the orifice tube as a male O-ring. So I had to get, that's what those two adapter fittings were. So here's the
all right, so here's all the parts that came in the kit.
Here's the last piece of it. All right, so here's all the parts that came in the kit. The AC hose kit with all the fittings to go in. And this is the VIR eliminator kit. This is the new receiver dryer. That's going to go in place. It connects to the, that connects to the evaporator. And our suction hose connects to this. We have 3 ports, 1 for service and 2 for different valves if we want to put some cycling switches in. Here's our cycling switch. This is our oil feed and fixed orifice, and a couple extra fittings needed to connect this to the hose kit. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed, and we got to go ahead and build a fan shroud for this car too, but that's all going to be for tomorrow now. So that's coming up. What we're gonna get that all knocked out for next week, and get the fan shroud. I'm gonna try to get all that on video so we can do make a thing on it. I see Chuck's in. Hey Chuck, how you doing? Hey Ryan, how you doing? I just was praising you for your phenomenal work on that square body truck. That thing is coming out freaking awesome, and I can't wait till you debut it at SEMA so we can get some video on the channel here, let everybody see the workmanship that you did on that thing. It's mind-boggling. Really good, man. You should really be proud of that. I see Chris says good, I'll be looking for a spare motor and trans, motor 4853, and what is the transmission I should use? Is 8-speed. So, Chris, which one are you talking? Oh, you talk about your. Ryan says he's over. Yeah, you've been busting butt on that thing, man. I know that. I know the clock is ticking. So, Chris, what motor and trans are you going to use this for your project? BMW project. I'm sorry. And or are you going to put a different engine and trans in the Nova? So let me know what you want to do there. I'll give you some insight. I mean, as far as 8-speed, the only thing that would be the an automatic. I don't believe they have a. Well, they probably do have an 8-speed manual now, but I don't know what one would be and how the fitment would work on that. So anyway, that was that's the lead into what we're going to be doing with that track car BMW Endurance. I mean, if you were going to do it, if you were going to do an automatic, I'll talk to Jonathan about that. But I think if you were going to do an automatic, you'd want to put a 4L80 in because that transmission is so rugged. A 6L90 would probably be a second guess because we can still control that with a Holley system. But the thing is, it's a lot of shifting, and a lot of shifting means a lot of wear and tear. Where the 4L80, you would probably be able to use less gear shifts and put a good broad power range in that. As far as an engine, it depends what you want to do with that. I do have that aluminum 5.7 that came out of the Sprint. I have no idea of what the inside of that motor looks like. That's why I have it, because we didn't want to use that engine when we did the conversion for the customer with the Sprint, because I didn't know the history on the engine, so I didn't feel good making it run and giving it to them, saying, here, you got a good engine, I think. So we went ahead and put a crate engine in that, a 5.3 crate engine. But yeah, I mean, I would want to do an aluminum block engine, because you're going to get better heat displacement and better balance on the vehicle. And if I remember correctly, did the BMW come with a 4L60, I believe? I can't remember. I kind of vaguely remember that that's what it had, a 4L60. And that transmission, I can tell you, probably will not make it. That is a very, very weak transmission. That thing is only rated for about 400 foot-pounds of torque, and that's not good to have a engine that's rated, or the transmission rated so close to the actual output of the engine for an endurance event. You'd want something that's got a lot of cushion in, where like you could go a 4L80, and a 4L80 would give you they're good for about 650 foot-pounds of torque. So you would have a big cushion on how much horsepower and torque your motor's making to what the maximum the transmission would be rated for, and that would give you prolonged setup. Yeah, so right, 4L60 with paddle shift. So the 4L80 would give you paddle shift also. If you go to a 6L80 or 90, or we can still control that with a Holley system. Once you go into the 8s and 10s, now you've got a situation where you're not going to be able to get an easy programmable system to control it. All those 6Ls and 8Ls and 10Ls all have the TCU, transmission control unit, is built into the valve body. And so it takes a specific engine management system to work with that, typically OEM GM, which then now you've got the cumbersome fact of having to use like HP tuners or EFI Live to make the adjustments, and it just becomes very, very, very hard to get the tuning done on it. And then if you wanted to make changes, it's a big ordeal. Whereas the 4L80, we can control with a Holley. I don't remember. I think that car right now has some type of aftermarket trans control on it, I think, and a stock engine management, I think. Those things are fine, but I think I would want to convert those to, like I said, to a Holley package, because it'd be so much easier for making tuning adjustments during practices and during a race. and data logging capabilities and all the other things that go along with it would make that a wise decision for that. In my understanding anyway. And the Holly, we can do all kinds of stuff with torque management, with the paddle shift, to where you can take the power away when you make the shift, so it really eases up on the transmission controls, because obviously endurance racing, you're more worried about longevity than you are speed. A couple tenths of a second lap time doesn't mean anything in the overall picture when you're running a 6-hour or 12-hour, even a 4-hour endurance race. You have to be at the end to win, or you have to finish to win. If you're beating the crap out of the drivetrain during the race and you break it, well, then not only do you not finish there, you have no chance of winning. So you want to put the most rugged components in there that you can put. So we'll have to talk about that when you get ready to do some stuff with that car. I'd be really interested to go over it with a fine-tooth comb compared to, I just kind of glanced over all the information you gave me, and I don't really, unfortunately, I don't really remember all the details to it. But I do have that 5.7 here, so you're more than welcome to use that as a core if you wanted to build something, or even if we just took it apart and freshened it up with fresh rings and bearings and stuff. Whatever you decide to do with that, get with me and we'll definitely do something with that. So anyway, that's the stuff. As far as that goes, Chris, my mind was going other places. So I am putting the 4L80 in my car for autocross and for track attack and all that stuff. And another key point I wanted to bring up with that 6, 8, and 10 speed is pretty much the first gear and the 1-to-1 are still the same, close to the same ratios. They just have more splits in between. And then they also the 8 and 10 have double and triple overdrive, which you're not going to use overdrive on a road course anyway. So that's why I wouldn't really pay dividends to get into those units because of how cumbersome they're going to be for electronics, and then wear and tear and the expense to rebuild. One of the things Jonathan was telling me is that on the 8s and 10s, the front transmission pump is part of the bell housing case. So it's not just a little easy oil pump that pops in the front of the thing. It's the whole case, and when they tear up, they tear up everything. And of course, they're all aluminum. Like when you go to the 4L80 transmission, the front pump is cast iron. So you have a lot more durability there. You have less flex. It makes it a better integral piece to the transmission. So I just wanted to put that out there. Well, I still had that popped in my brain. All right, so let's see. I wanted to so let's go over this this Eleanor tuning project that I did the other day. Now, unfortunately, like I said, because the guy is going to sell the car and probably try to sell it for a lot of money, whatever, he really didn't want me to get too many pictures of the car. But so we'll leave it undisclosed what the car actually was. But it was I guess a 68 Mustang Eleanor kit, so it was in the gray. It had really nice custom interior, and it had a 351 Windsor that was stroked to 427 with a F1R or F1X Pro Charger on it, intercooled. I believe it was a TFS intake manifold, and supposedly about 1,100 horsepower. When I looked at the tuning was there. It was enough fuel in it for 1,300 horsepower. So very possible that is what the motor will make. Supposedly the motor with the supercharger and all that stuff was close to $10,000 or $100,000. So I can't say that's true or not. That's just what I was told. But let me pull up. pull up this file. So anyway, I went down and they wanted me to get the engine running. And so let me switch screens here. And so I went ahead and downloaded the file that was actually in the motor so we can look through this stuff. And this kind of gives you an idea what's going on. So we go into ECU configuration. Oh, is this thing going to drag again tonight? I guess it is. All right. So it had an HP computer in it. I won't go through the engine stuff. So it was set up with a crank trigger, four magnet crank trigger, and cam sensor, 120 pound per hour injector. So first thing I did was looked at the fuel map. And I see that they used a small table, which was crazy when you've got 3 bars of adjustment in it. I mean, that makes the tuning so tight in this thing. So, and you can see here that it's already over duty cycled, but that's if the motor makes that kind of horsepower. Target AFR table, and this thing is all over the place. So, I mean, they've got 14.9, 15.4, 14.65, and this is all in the idling area. And the cam it's got a pretty large camshaft in this thing. So there's no way that's going to work properly running that lean when you have a camshaft with overlap, because with the overlap, you get a lot of reversion in the exhaust, and it's going to make it run, it's going to make it signal leaner than what it really is. So it's just it's a really bad combination. And then in the cruising range, they get the fuel in quick, but then it's still very lean at wide open throttle, no boost, 13.4. That's way lean for no boost. And then once it gets up in the boost, then they drop it to 11.50. So that was, I saw that and I said, okay, well, no, obviously they weren't really sure what they were doing with this. And we go into base timing table, and again, here's another table where down here it's in the 20s, up here it's in the 15s, and in boost it's at 1 degree of spark timing. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. So I knew that this thing was in dire need of some major tuning. So I went ahead and fixed her up. So let's pull up a file here. And this is what I ended up with. So much better table. We're in a large screen now. 6,000 RPM. The tune's still good to 273 kPa. So that's about 22, 23 pounds of boost. I don't think the Pro Charger would make any more boost than that with the pulleys that I saw on it. Obviously, we weren't able to rev it up, so I wasn't able to tell for sure. But one of the things I suggested, that if they really wanted to make the thing run great, we need to rescale this table, because starting at 0 and the engine's idling in the 70s, we're losing these bottom rows for drivability. And if it's only making 20 pounds of boost, we're losing these upper scales where we could get more resolution and have a lot more values for cruise and stuff like that. So this was the table I finished up with. There's our target AFR table. 14.0s in the idling area, 14.7 in cruise, and then at watt, no boost, 13.0, and immediately goes to 12.6. And then I went ahead and left the really heavily retarded boost levels in there, because we weren't able to dyno the engine, so I didn't really care about that. So that was that. And in the timing table, you can see we got a much cleaner table. All of our pre-boost timing is at 22 now. Watt with no boost is at 33, and then we taper down there. Again, I left this very heavily retarded boosted timing because we weren't on the dyno, and I don't know any information on the engine, so I didn't want to get too crazy on that. I just wanted to give them something that would have drivability. And we went ahead and did a test drive with it. So I got a data log. And the car didn't have hardly any fuel in it, so we only made one data log. It ran significantly better than what it ran before, so we just went ahead and left it like that. So here's our data log. Let's open this up a little bit. So that was before we were driving. So here we were going down the road, running it. Nice pull. Not a lot of RPM, but you see we were here's when we put the map sensor in. So the map sensor's in gold. So just driving in the non-boosted area, but we had plenty. Target 1366, and our actual was 1377 with only 0.4 or 4% reduction. The fuel pressure there was a little low, but it only had like 35 at idle, so that was something I wasn't sure what they had set it on, so I didn't really get too much into that. Here's when we're just cruising. 39 pounds of fuel pressure is what it had normally. So anyway, so it just kind of made it run pretty decent, get it to where he can drive the car around. There we got to 103 kPa, so we were just about able to get into boost. Not actually in boost, but close to it. 42 pounds of fuel pressure, so it was gaining. So we know that the boost reference to the fuel pressure regulator was connected. It did go a little rich there, but again, not enough that it's going to hurt anything. And they'll be able to drive the car and get it. He needs to get it to a repair shop and get some repair work done. And once they get that stuff done, the steering column was falling apart, and it was a little freaky driving down the road in the car, with somebody I don't know, and he's trying to, show me how badass the car was. I'm like, dude, you can just chill and just drive it normal. We don't need to set the world on fire. So anyway, that was a little project that I knocked out last Monday, and he was happy. He was able to use the car, drive around to the shops and stuff. I guess he had a couple people look at it. Nobody could make it run, so that was all good. So the other thing, what I'm going to be working on here in the next, hopefully before this weekend, is I want to get this video done on the on the truck. So let me see here and bring this up. Where did I put that file? There it is. So here's the C10 all wrapped up. Nice little 64. Got a nice stance to it. Took a couple pictures on it. I had a problem with the sway bar. I didn't get any good pictures of that, unless I did in the videos. But the links were at extreme angles, and so I had to put some extensions in there and some new bushings, and move the brackets off the lower control arm forward half an inch, and that got the end links closer to a 90 degree. From the A-arm or from the ground and from the sway bar mount, so hopefully the bushings will last a little longer. But really nice pickup. I don't remember if I got one in the engine bay. I did not. Oh, there's Benji. growing like a weed, 5.5 months old. So let me see where I'm at here with these pictures. Here's a little video on the engine bay.
Well, unfortunately.
So here's a video of the engine bay. Actually, when I was filming the connecting all the electrical connectors, I ran out of space on my SD card, so I'll just go over it again with you. So we have our connections here directly to the battery as per the instructions. We have our fuel pressure, we have all this stuff connected, this main harness back here. We have the coils wired, cam sync down by the starter to crank sync. We have our wire going to the AC clutch for AC kick. And we have a relay here for the AC, or for the radiator fan, and it's got the output to that. So everything is wired up now. We put our catch can in with our hoses going to the valve covers for a breather, so that will be good now. We got our acceleration cable hooked up. We got the TV cable hooked up for a 700R4. Remember, there's two outlets, or there's two positions on this throttle linkage. One is for 350 and 200 metric transmissions. This one is for 200R4 and 700R4 for the TV cable. It's got the correct fulcrum to make the TV cable pull correctly. So we got that all hooked up. We got our map sensor back here connected. So we're all ready to go ahead and fire the truck up. Yes, that was that's actually an earlier video than I was thinking it was, but everything came out good on it. The tuning worked out well. Obviously, I talked about the breather tank when the truck came in. I may have mentioned this last week. The valve cover vents on the LS valve covers were going to manifold vacuum before. So when the truck was driving down the road, it was actually the engine was actually sucking oil out of the breathers. The guy drove the truck to Daytona and back, which is about a 3-hour each way drive, and then went through over 3 quarts of oil. He was concerned that the engine was wore out, although it was supposedly a brand new engine. But the whole thing is, when you have direct vacuum going to the crankcase, you're pulling the motor into a vacuum, which is good for performance motors, but you don't want that going into the intake manifold and being burned. Now you've got oil going into the engine. You want like on a dry sump system or a vacuum pump system, putting the engine in a vacuum makes the ring seal better and stuff like that. But in this situation, hooked to the manifold vacuum source, it's just drawing all the smoke and oil accumulation in through the engine, and now you're burning oil on in the cylinder. So it's not a good way of doing it. Hey, B. Pratt, thanks for coming in. So PCV catch with or without breather on top. So on all the LS builds I do, let me pull that. Actually, I got it. Let me see if I can get another video up here.
All right.
See if I got this where you can see it. So this is not a really good shot, but at least it's got a little bit more light on it. So here's our catch can. Now, this is like a Moroso, actually a Moroso catch can with a breather on top, and then it's got a line coming out of the tank going to a Y block, and then it's connected to both valve covers. So now the engine is not in a vacuum. It's just a naturally, it's letting it breathe naturally. So whatever blow-by, although on a good engine there's usually no blow-by, but whatever cylinder pressures that get into the crankcase are just going to go in through these lines and come out this breather tank. And the whole thing is, being that if it's building any pressure, it's going to push the pressure right out to the tank, and it's going to go out to the atmosphere. So I know I've seen on some LS forums people talking about whether it works or not. I can tell you it works great. That's how we've been doing road race cars for years, not only LS cars, but all engines. And the whole thing is, if you run a PCV system, so you've got, like on a stock LS, one of these breather lines would go into the throttle body, and that would be for sucking fresh air in. And then the one in the back usually goes to the back of the manifold, and it has a PCV valve in line. So, or it can have a fixed orifice. But what's happening is when the engine is at idle or low speeds, the intake manifold is in a vacuum, and it's drawing air through the air cleaner into this port, around the crankcase, and bringing it in out of this valve cover into the intake plenum, and that's how it's extracting the pressures in the engine crankcase. But think about this, and this is the thing that a lot of people that say you can't do it this way don't understand. When you're at wide open throttle, guess what? There is no vacuum in the manifold. So this whole breather system is not working at all at that point, because now there's no vacuum to draw in the air or the crankcase fumes out of the valve covers, because there is no vacuum. So at that point, this system is actually better because it is open element to the air. So on the factory system, at wide open throttle, everything just becomes stagnant until you lift off the throttle and the engine goes back into vacuum, and then it'll extract all the pressure. So if you're wide open throttle for a long time, say like you're on the highway and you're on in Mexico, quote unquote, and you're going to do a 2 or 3 gear pull, and you're wide open for 12, 14 seconds, 30 seconds, that whole time your crankcase is not ventilating at all. So at that point, now you're actually hindering performance, because now you've got your crankcase is building pressure, and now the rings aren't going to be able to seal as well as if they were vented or if they were in a vacuum. So doing my system, and it's not me only, everybody, a lot of people do it this way. Now any pressure in that crankcase can get pushed by its own pressure right out the breather tank, and you have no buildup, and that way your rings are going to seal as well as they can, not being in a vacuum, which you need a vacuum pump or a dry sump system to create that issue or that system. So this is how I've done it. I've done these. I can't tell you how many cars I've done it on. I did on my own personal autocross car, which I ran the crap out of that thing, watt all the time, and in 4,200 miles that I put on the car, it never once had any oil accumulated in the reservoir. It had, I saw condensation in there every now and then, so that's showing that it's working, because whatever condensation built up in the engine, because you put it in the trailer hot, and unfortunately at that time I had to store the car in the trailer, and in Florida we have high humidity, and then the sun's just baking on the trailer, so the trailer is usually 10 to 15 degrees hotter in the trailer than it is outside air, and there's no ventilation, even though I had a roof vent on the trailer, but didn't have a fan or anything on it. So I mean, all of the surfaces of the aluminum, like the intake manifold, will all get powdery because of humidity, creating corrosion, and that's how the motor would get condensation in it. And this system works because once the engine was fired up again and heated up and got up in got warm enough in the crankcase that it would start boiling the water out of the engine, it would push the water into the reservoir, and when I drain it, there'd be condensation. So obviously it works. Okay, so double breather is good only on the 302. I think I'm going to dump the PVC in favor of 2 inline breathers and a catch can. Yes, you can run a breather on each valve cover. That's great. I do the LSs this way because that way it's they already have the fittings in the valve covers, and on the Dave's Chevelle and on Joe's '69 Camaro, on both of those cars, I hid everything under the hood. So both of those have catch breather tanks in the inner fender where you can't see it's under the car. So that's why I do it this way. The only thing you have to watch with the breathers in the valve covers is you want a good baffle inside the valve cover, because your lifters, your rocker arms are squirting oil all over the place. If you ever ran the engine with the valve cover off, oil flies everywhere. So with that being said, the oil is going to be flinging all over the lid of the valve cover. So if you don't have a baffle of some sort or a deflector where the breather filter is going into the engine, it can fling oil up into your breather, and then the oil will accumulate in the breather filter and then start dripping off of the filters. I had that situation on the Cup car when I was at Darlington with it, because it's an LS, but I have Ford valve covers on it, and I wanted to make it look like a stock car engine, so I put 2.5-inch tall aluminum tubes on the valve covers. Let's see if I can find a picture of that. So, and then with breathers on it, and it works fine. I did not put a restrictor in there because I figured, well, it's got 2.5 inches of tube. But when I was in Darlington and the car got stuck in second gear, and I decided to hold it against the rev limiter all the way around the track because I wanted to get my track time in. We were only allotted 20 minutes on the track, and I wasn't going to pull off. I wanted to be able to get that video and have that experience of driving an actual Winston Cup car on a Winston Cup track. And I was able to keep up speed with everybody. We were running about 100 miles an hour, 105 mile an hour. So I was able to keep up with everybody, even though I was stuck in second gear with the transmission issue. So it worked out good. Not great, but it worked out good. But now, having it against the rev limiter like that and getting the motor warm, I did run into the problem where the breathers started filling up with oil, and we did run into the problem where the filters were kicking oil out of them. So let me see if I got a picture with the breathers on it. No, not there. Here. So here's my this is a 413 LS in my Cup car, and obviously it's got a fake distributor and such to make it look like a small block Ford, because it's a Ford Taurus Cup car. And you can see I've got these tubes on there with the open filters on the top, and I kind of thought, well, those tubes should be enough to divert the oil for saturating the filters, and it was not. So I mean, it was until the car got up to 230 degrees and against the rev limiter all the time. So of course, if the motor got that hot, the oil started getting hot, and then it started pushing oil out the breathers and then onto the headers, and then the car started smoking a little bit. So I went ahead and pulled off at that point, and I only lost a lap compared to everybody else in the session. So this should have some baffles put in there. Just all you need is a small plate so that the air has to go around it to get in. But this is still basically the same setup as I have on the street cars. I'm just not using a vacuum line and a single catch can. So, and again, the other thing with that, Pratt, is that when you have a PCV system and you're drawing in the fresh air on one side of the engine, the other side sucking the crankcase fumes into the intake manifold, you essentially have a vacuum leak in the engine. So obviously with fuel injection you can control that, but in like a carbureted car, you've got a vacuum leak that's not being monitored by the carburetor. You've got outside source air coming in, and with a carburetor, you're working with atmospheric pressure differential between the outside air and the air in the boosters of the carburetor. It's how it's drawing the fuel out of the carburetor. And now with the PCV system in there, you've got an outside air leak that's not going through the monitored of the fuel jets in the carburetor. So any performance motor, that's the first thing I do is I eliminate the PCV system. And for guys that don't remember or are too young to remember, pre-1965, all engines had what they called a down tube or a breather tube. And like small block Chevys would have a pipe bolted to the block behind the intake manifold underneath the distributor, and it had a 1-inch pipe that went down and vented down by the oil filter on the side of the block. That was crankcase ventilation. There was no other ventilation on the engine, just one 1-inch pipe that went all the way down to the ground. And all your other motors, Fords and Chevys, 6-cylinders, they would all have there was a bunch of different names for it, but basically it was a 1-inch pipe going to the ground. And the reason that in 1966 you did not see that anymore is EPA. They wanted to stop pollution. So that's when the manufacturers came out with PCV to suck the fumes back through the engine and go through the combustion process and have that burn all that oil fume so that it would be cleaner out the tailpipes. Now, of course, when we went into emissions, you could read that oil getting burned through NOx and CO2 coming out of the tailpipe, and that's when they had to do catalytic converters, and then they got into EGRs, and later on variable valve timing. So all those things that we're using on cars today are all on production cars are all derivative of the CAFE and CARB emission standards set by the government for stopping car pollution. So that's the whole thing on that. So you're welcome, Pratt. I just trying to give you guys information, but that's how that stuff works, and it works fine. If anybody wants to show me how it doesn't work, I'd be glad to see it, because I've been doing it, setting up car engines this way with a single catch tank and hoses coming from the engine on race cars. I've been setting that up at least 15, 16 years, and I've never ever had a problem with that. Rick says, yeah, road tube. That's another name for it. I think it ended in 62. Well, no, some cars as new as 65. I've seen Scott's got a 65 327 block in his Vega from his Corvette project he had, well, his Corvette was a 64, but the block was a 65, and it still had the road tube in it. Oh, so your 63 doesn't have that. Well, it'd be interesting to see the date codes on your engine block. Your engine block may be newer than 65 then. But there's very possible that certain engines they left them for later on. You know, it's not set in wool, but I know by 66 all engines were set up with PCV systems, and the road tubes were no longer allowed on a new production car. So, but that's all the stuff. Well, and not that I know better, but it'd just be interesting to see what your the date code is on the bell housing. It should be on the I think on the passenger side flange behind the China wall in the back of the intake, or on the actual bell housing flange. It should have your date code stamped in there. Or get the casting number off the left side of the back of the block on that small block. But then again, the casting numbers aren't foolproof, because a lot of times they may have used that same casting number for a number of years, so that doesn't always give you the exact information, but the date code would really give you an exact information on when that engine was produced. But it's very possible that they started phasing that out on certain models. Obviously, the Impala would be the flagship car, so they may have eliminated it on that earlier. Because I have seen I have seen on the early GMs to have the oil fill tube in the intake manifold. I have seen some of those would have a 3/8 nipple on there where they could hook a PCV valve up to it, and then you have a breather cap on the top of it. That would be the air inlet, and then it would suck the fumes out if the fumes built up. So yeah, different cars had different setups in them and stuff, but that's how we do them on race cars, and that it works out real well. Now some drag cars would use a vent system where they would run a breather in the valve cover, and then a 3/4 inch hose to a one-way check valve into a header, and the header, inside the header, that tube would be cut on a 45, so it would be the exhaust flow would create a vacuum and draw the fumes out of the engine, and that way when the engine was at wide open throttle and high RPM, it would actually create a vacuum and try to get the rings to get a better seal. But the only problem with that is if you have mufflers or any restrictions in your exhaust, now it doesn't work at all. And the other thing is the check valves in the exhaust were actually air injection check valves used in the 70s. And it was just a rubber diaphragm, so the heat in the exhaust, any reversion would blow out the diaphragm. You'd never know it, and then you got exhaust going back up into the engine. So it kind of wasn't a great setup, but it worked good until they started putting vacuum pumps on the engines, which now you've got a belt-driven pump that actually is pulling the engine into a vacuum. And some of the later model pumps originally started using smog pumps, just using them as suction, and then went into custom-made ones. And in the newer, later model, like the Moroso, the big Moroso ones and Star Racing ones, they could actually pull the motor into about 20-30 inches of vacuum, which then you'd have to use a check valve on the opposite valve cover so that you wouldn't pull so much vacuum that you draw the oil out of the engine, just like that truck was doing. So just hopefully that's good information for you guys setting up your cars. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't even thinking about a discussion on that, but actually it's a really good thing to talk about. Even if your car goes through emissions, you can have breathers on it, crankcase breathers on it. It's not going to show up. The only time that really comes into play for pollution is when an engine has blow-by, an excessive amount of mileage, or the ring package is worn, or something like that. The motors, the cylinder walls are scorned, or the pistons are scorned from extreme overheating, and then you start getting crankcase pressure, and then you have a situation. Typically, any good running engine, you should be able to take your breather cap off, as long as it's not getting raw oil flinging from the valve train. You should be able to. One of the tricks that all the diesel guys do is they take the oil fill cap off and they put it upside down while the engine's running, and they want the cap to not blow off. That's showing you that there's no vacuum or no crankcase pressure coming out. A more better way to do is to put a cap with a pressure gauge on it and see in PSI if there is any pressure in the crankcase. But typically 50, 60,000 miles, 100,000 miles on a well-maintenanced engine should still have very low, if any, blow-by. Now, obviously, if you get into nitrous or boost, whether it be turbo or supercharger, and you start running bigger ring gaps, then you will get a little bit of residual blow-by coming through, because the rings, when the engine is cold or the rings are cold, your ring gap is expanded. Now, once that motor is hot and it's put under load, the ring gaps will tighten up because the rings expand, and then the blow-by goes away. So it's still not a big deal. Biggest thing is make sure you are not getting oil in your breathers and they're not dripping oil onto your headers or your custom engine, or all your chrome and all that stuff, and making the engine bay nasty. So that's I'm glad we got on that topic. That was a good thing to discuss. And of course, if you're running like Chris Chris is going to be doing endurance racing. On that, we would make a much bigger tank. Now, on the street car, that Moroso tank is probably about almost a quart. On a road course car, especially in endurance, if we have room, I would probably make that tank closer to a gallon, because in 4, 6, 12-hour race, you have no idea what the engine is going to be going through that event. And if it were to hurt itself from running hot from a long time or anything like that, you want enough volume in your catch tank to not have a oil fire. Because if you're racing in an endurance race, you're not going to be paying attention to, obviously nobody's going to be looking under the hood while you're racing, so you would never know that it's starting to push oil out. And once it starts pushing oil out the breather and the engine is creating back pressure and it's flinging the oil out of the breather, now that hot oil is going to get onto red hot headers, and then that could start a fire, and that is no good on an endurance race, because you may be, depending where it catches fire, you could be on a long straightaway where there's no corner workers in that area, or you could be a mile and a half away from the pit entrance. And so, I mean, you don't want to drive the car on fire, so you're going to pull off to the side, and then the car is going to engulf itself in flames and could burn to the ground. So that's why on a road race car, an endurance car, we make a much larger catch tank, as big as we can fit it in the car without being intrusive. And that way, if during the race it does have an issue, it basically can catch nearly all the oil that's in the engine, so that we don't have a fire situation. So just food for thought. When you're putting your cars together, think about the ventilation system, how you want to work it, what's going to be clean. Again, if you're going to put breathers on the valve covers, you have to put some kind of baffling system to keep that oil flinging off the rocker arms or valve train. If you're overhead cam, the cams are flinging oil everywhere. So you want to make sure you keep that from going up into your filters. So I was going to get into the tuning on the C10, but we'll save that, because I'm going to go ahead and make a video on that, so you'll see that in the you can check that out on the video. And it gave everybody a little break from having another night of Holly EFI discussion. So hope that was good for everybody. See, we're a little bit over 8 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and pull the plug on tonight. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by and watching the podcast. And tell your friends, if they're got any questions or anything. I love that, and that's the whole reason why I'm doing these live instead of doing a content video. Is this way, while we're in the discussion, people can ask a question and we can go directly into the breaking it down and discussing it and making it more of a technical discussion or bench racing discussion than anything else. So, feel free and tell anybody that wants to come on that this is not just come and watch whatever I've put together for tonight. I encourage people to ask questions, even if it's off topic. We can get into this stuff. Now that we have 115 of these, I've got a lot of older shows that have touched on a lot of different things. So obviously we can pull back information from some of the previous shows, and like I did with the Cup car, and was able to pull up a picture of an engine with the breathers on the valve covers and the situation I ran into on that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Chris says, thanks, George. Thanks, Chris. Rick says, great. Thanks, great stuff. Thanks, Rick, for watching. Dave says, what about check on the ladder? You mean Chuck on the ladder, I think. Yeah, so this weekend, I didn't get any pictures of it, but we were able to clean my house garage out. I'm getting a new garage door installed, and I had 2 pallets of roof insulation in the garage. So Dave and Chuck, I shouldn't say we, Dave and Chuck emptied the garage, put enough insulation that we could get the free spaces up in the roof. So we got I think 4 sections done in the shop, and the rest of it they put in the trailer. I was able to put my wife's golf cart in the trailer in the garage. That's the first time that's happened, so that was really nice. But yeah, we had it was pretty hairy carry working off ladders trying to put these 4x8 sheets of styrofoam in the ceiling. We had to cut them to fit in between the framing of the building, and it was. I'll get some pictures of that for next week. I don't know if I got any pictures of Chuck. We actually had a couple of the spots were hard to get to, so we actually had the truck on the lift all the way up, and we had a step ladder in the back of the truck, and Chuck was on top of that. So it was pretty hairy, but I appreciate you guys getting it done. And I know the outside air temperature is a little lower than normal, but I can tell you the shop temperature has already been reduced, and that's only a quarter of the roof done. So I can't wait till this winter when we are able to finish the roof. So I'll give you guys some pictures of that and stuff next week. So anyway, appreciate y'all coming out and watching the show, and we'll get some more stuff next week. I'm going to try to get some pictures of Mirror Lake, so I'll show you that. Show you the show there, and we'll finish up this AC job on this Sprint, and whatever else we get done during the week until next week. So see everybody next Tuesday. Appreciate y'all coming out and watching the show. And with that, I'm going to say see ya.